I'm John McKee, editor of Messianic Apologetics, messianicapologetics.net. And I would like to welcome you to this episode of Messianic Insider, your theology and news roundup for August the 7th, 2025. There are certainly many things which are weighing heavily right now on many people I know and interact with, especially as in the next 6-7 weeks, we will be in the midst of the fall high holidays, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. Right now, with different areas of global tension, Israel, Hamas, Russia, Ukraine, things here on the American home front, there are people who are very anxious and they are expecting events of a significant prophetic nature to be taking shape, perhaps in the next few weeks or months. Now, a big part of our theology and news roundup is not just to discuss important theological matters, and today we are continuing in our analysis of some pre-trib rapture points, responding to them from a post-tribulational perspective. But we do monitor current events. Now, they just don't involve the world. They can also involve religious matters out there. But let it not be said that we are not paying attention. Yet today, as I was monitoring some things and seeing some opinions out there, and you can have your opinion, I've got my opinion, that's okay. Some people are expecting the end times to really hit very, very soon. And is it possible? Yes. But I remember that there was a huge amount of prophetic speculation, soft date setting, timelines, etc., all the way back in the mid-1990s when my family first got involved in the Messianic community, 1995, 1996. There were people claiming that the 1993 Middle East Peace Accord was the 7-year agreement. Of course, none of that came to pass. The turn of the millennium came to pass. No end times. All of the people who had put timelines together, especially with the so-called 6,000-year chronology, they were all proven to be false. And not only that, but we saw a lot of people not necessarily fall away from the Lord, but stop paying attention to the signs of the times. So we pay attention to potential signs of the times. We want to be sure we're monitoring things properly. We're one day closer to the Messiah's return than we were yesterday. I know, and this is especially true as I contemplate events of my family's past during the month of August. I know how things can change very, very quickly. My father, Kimball McKee, went from having a cancer diagnosis in late March of 1992, just after he turned 41, and then by September the 1st, he was dead. So in a period of 5 months, I know how somebody's life can change very quickly. So that is not something I have ever forgotten. Things can change very quickly. But we do not want to be presumptuous, and we do not want to lose credibility because we are still having to sort through some kind of anxiety, some kind of insecurity as it involves the future. The end times are not here to arrive to solve all of your individualistic personal problems or whatever they may be. The end times are here to see the restoration of the kingdom to Israel and true justice and righteousness reign. So look, we're paying attention to what's happening. I believe we're in the last days, but we also need to stay as grounded as we can, because a lot of people, they forget what happened back in the 1990s. They forget what happened at the return of the millennium. You know, we don't want to fall into some of the traps of those who preceded us and brought discredit to the prophetic message of Holy Scripture. All right, so let's get started on our theology roundup. We have been going through a number of pre-tribulation rapture reasons provided by Alan Didio. This was a post on X from June the 24th, so this has been in my archives for a while. And today we're addressing reason number 4, which he says why the post-tribulation rapture view doesn't hold up. Who enters the millennium in natural bodies? Revelation 20 verses 4 through 6. Who repopulates the earth? It is not as though those of us who hold to a post-tribulational orientation do not have an answer to this. Now we're going to be going to our ministry publication, When Will the Messiah Return? Dangers of Pre-Tribulationism. Let me switch windows really quickly. Yes, that works. And in the Dangers of Pre-Tribulationism analysis, I respond to 50 reasons given in support of pre-trib by the late John Walvoord. So his reason number 35, which Alan Didio put in his own words just now. Tribulation saints are not translated at the second coming of Christ, but carry on ordinary occupations such as farming and building houses, and shall bear children. Isaiah 65, 20 through 25. This would be impossible if all saints were translated at the second coming to the earth as post-tribulationists teach. So the idea is that if there is a post-tribulational gathering of the holy ones or saints, and we all take on immortality, those who are living, behold, I show you a mystery, we shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. If those who are living are changed, apparently they will not be able to help repopulate the earth as the millennial kingdom begins. That's a common claim of pre-tribulationists. This proof for pre-tribulationism claims that if all the holy ones or saints are translated and transformed in a post-tribulational context at the second coming, then it would be impossible for people to live normal lives during the millennial kingdom and bear children. Is it completely impossible, or is this simply a requirement imposed by pre-tribulationists? Is it required for there to be a pre-tribulation rapture so that there will be procreation during the millennium? Consider Isaiah's prophecy of the coming millennial kingdom, where there will clearly be reproduction of humans. No longer will there be in it an infant who lives but a few days, or an old man who does not fill out his days. For the youth will die at 100 years, but one who misses the mark of 100 must be accursed. They will build houses and inhabit them. They will plant vineyards and eat their fruit. They will not build and another inhabit, nor plant and another eat. For like the days of a tree, so will be the days of my people, and my chosen ones will long enjoy the work of their hands. They will not labor in vain, nor bear children for calamity. For they are the offspring of those blessed by Adonai, as well as descendants with them. And it will come to pass that before they call, I will answer, and while they are still speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lamb will feed together, the lion will eat straw like the ox, but dust will be the serpent's food. They will not hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain, says Adonai. Isaiah 65, verses 20 to 25, Tree of Life version. This passage, referenced by John Walvoord, also Alan Didio previously, from the Tanakh, Old Testament, testifies of the lifestyle of those during the millennium. There will be those who live and die. Notably, the Art Scroll Tanakh comments that, quote, people will have such longevity that dying at the age of 100 will be considered as dying young, or it will be considered as a punishment to die at that age, unquote. This might indicate that dying is a punishment for sin, as during this period the Messiah will be ruling and reigning over the earth. And this may be for capital offenses, or perhaps more likely offenses directly associated with apostasy and blasphemy against the king. We may not know for sure until this takes place. Nevertheless, a pre-tribulation rapture is not required, so that there can be those who can procreate. The Apostle Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians 15:51, "Behold, I tell you a mystery, we shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed." English Standard Version. What he said was that not all of the righteous who know Messiah will die, but that all the righteous will be transformed. The Greek verb alasso can mean to make other than it is, to change, alter, or to interchange, alternate, from the Liddell Scott lexicon. The mystery which Paul spoke of here is how all are going to be translated, but not all are going to have their bodies die. Okay. What of those who do not die? Is it possible that these people will receive redeemed bodies similar to Adam and Eve's prior to the fall, and thus will be responsible for repopulating the earth at the start of the millennium? This is something which most pre-tribulationists I have encountered do not have an answer for. Some may, however, use Yeshua's words in Matthew 22:30 to rebuff the idea that translated holy ones or saints who never die procreate during the millennium. The Messiah said, "In the resurrection, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven." Matthew 22:30, New American Standard. This is most certainly true of those who die in the faith and whose bodies will be resurrected at the Messiah's appearing. But again, what of those who are changed and do not die? Some believers will technically never have to be resurrected. It is not necessary for there to be a pre-tribulation rapture of the holy ones or saints to leave non-translated humans on earth when Yeshua returns to rule and reign. Bible readers are clearly told that all will be changed, but that not all will die. It is possible that those who never die but are changed will be those who will largely be responsible for repopulating the earth during the millennium, similar to how Adam and Eve were originally intended to populate the earth in the Garden of Eden. Genesis 1:28. So there you have it. A pre-tribulation rapture is not required for there to be people who enter into the millennium and are able to repopulate the earth. It could very well come from those who are transformed at the second coming, but who never die. That would be similar to how Adam and Eve, prior to the fall, were given the command by God to be fruitful and multiply. Is this something which pre-tribulationists have really taken into consideration? No, they haven't. But it is a perfectly legitimate alternative. All right, so let's, as we can, okay, so that continues our, tomorrow, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Okay, tomorrow we will continue with another reason provided by Alan Didio's post on X with his fifth reason given in favor of the pre-tribulation rapture. Let me switch screens again. Okay. There's his post, and as I'm sure you all are aware by now, the teaching we just had came from our ministry publication, When Will the Messiah Return? The Dangers of Pre-Tribulationism, which you can get at outreachisraelbookstore.com. All right, so this finishes up our theology roundup. Now let's get into some news. And we always do the news roundup after the theology roundup because all of the news we go through is time sensitive. And of course, it can change from day to day, especially as we monitor things like the Israel-Hamas conflict, Russia, and Ukraine for certain. All of the news items I'm getting ready to go through, you can access these later when this episode is archived at MessianicApologetics.net. Okay, so our first news story, this is something which those of you all who attended the Messiah 2025 conference, Grantham, Pennsylvania, about 6 weeks ago or so, there was a gentleman there from one of the local news agencies, a journalist who was going around and interviewing a number of Messianic Jewish leaders. I even had an informal conversation with him for about 10 minutes at our ministry table. And he was wanting to know what this whole conference was about, what Messianic Judaism was about. And we were expecting to, because he wasn't a believer, wasn't even really religious, we were expecting to, okay, when this comes out, hopefully he'll be fair and give a real balanced opinion. Well, the news article came out yesterday. This is from Lancaster Online, so this is from Pennsylvania. The headline, Messianic Jews, small but increasingly influential group among pro-Trump Christians, share beliefs at annual gathering at Messiah University. And the byline, history professor says the group's views are not aligned with the college's. Okay, now you probably will want to go read this article for yourself because you don't see secular media talking about the Messianic movement that often. But apparently, from what I could what I could pick up at the conference, the journalist had a really long interview with Jonathan Cahn. He interviewed a number of the other major Messianic Jewish leaders as well. But you read through this article, it makes the Messianic community sound like it's a movement whose main person is Jonathan Cahn, and that we're all fierce religious fundamentalists, and that Messiah University, at least a wide number of their faculty, probably doesn't agree with this event. Now, that's the conclusion I came to. I encourage you to read this article on your own and come to your own conclusion. Okay, our next story, and this is from the New York Post, August the 6th, so yesterday afternoon. Russian dictator Vladimir Putin is reportedly mulling an air truce with Ukraine to halt its record-breaking drone and missile bombardments as a key concession to President Trump ahead of his Friday deadline to make peace. The Kremlin has repeatedly rejected attempts for a full-fledged ceasefire with Ukraine, but is open to an air truce if Kiev agrees to it as well. Yeah, what is going to happen with the Russia-Ukraine situation? That we're going to have some more on that in just a few moments. From Open Source Intel, this is from yesterday afternoon, August the 6th. Israel's Gaza plan, key details. So you have it involving Israel plans to occupy Gaza. Evacuation notice will be issued to Gaza City residents. Timeline, this setup will take a few weeks. Occupation of Gaza City. Trump's role. He is expected to announce increased aid. Bypass Hamas and provide direct aid as Gaza City falls. Hostages, some are believed to be in Gaza City, most likely not. Now, this too is something which, of course, is likely to change based on the situation on the ground. But we know, regardless of how soon or not so soon the end times are, world patience with the conflict in Gaza is waning thin, and some kind of a point event to see this resolved is, in fact, coming. Open source intel, August the 6th. So this is yesterday afternoon. President Trump intends to meet in person with President Vladimir V. Putin of Russia as soon as next week. And he plans to follow up shortly afterward with a meeting between himself, Mr. Putin, and President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine, according to two people familiar with the plan, the New York Times. So, are we going to possibly see, as early as next week even, a personal meeting between President Trump and President Putin to resolve this Russia-Ukraine situation? Indeed, the situation in something like this can change at a moment's notice. Certainly, I believe that a ceasefire, some kind of peace agreement hammered out would be good for averting global conflict, but we don't know. Okay, we already know that The Late Show with Stephen Colbert has been canceled. Here's another show which has been canceled. New York Post. Legendary radio host Howard Stern faces an uncertain future at Sirius XM as his 5-year, $500 million contract winds down, according to a report. The Howard Stern show is likely to be canceled. It's likely to conclude. And look, I remember years ago, probably in the late 1990s when I was in college, watching one or two episodes late at night. And yeah. And I also remember, also in the late 1990s, when I was in high school, working at the movie theater, Movies 14, McKinney, Texas, and the Howard Stern movie Private Parts came out. And that was not a great movie either. So if the Howard Stern show concludes, I won't miss it, and I'm sure many of you won't miss it either. It kind of represents the degradation of society in many ways. Sorry to say that. Okay, so let's go to the next story. Okay, this is from Brian Samuel. He is a IAMCS rabbi. He's very popular on X, Twitter. This is a post from yesterday, August the 6th, in the morning, where he addresses the question about Jesus and the Talmud. And I'm not going to read all this, but do I disavow the Talmudic statement that Jesus is boiling in excrement? Absolutely. Do I disavow the entire Talmud because of it? Absolutely not. And here's why. The Talmud is a vast compilation of teachings, sayings, debates, and homilies from countless rabbis over several centuries. Much of its content predates the time of Jesus and was preserved orally until the Jewish exile made it necessary to commit it to writing for fear of losing it all together. Okay, just some more. The Talmud is not designed to be a single unified book with a single viewpoint. It's a collection of voices often disagreeing with one another. Disavowing the entire Talmud because of one troubling passage is like disavowing X because of one offensive post. And indeed, then he talks about some other statements regarding the bulk of the Talmud is concerned with applying the laws of Moses, how to keep Shabbat, how to celebrate festivals, how to conduct business ethically. As a Messianic Jew, this is his opinion, the Talmud doesn't dictate my personal observance, but I still recognize its wisdom and align with it where appropriate. Now, the Talmud, as he said, is a wide, broad collection of Jewish sayings, Jewish opinions, he's not going to just dismiss it because of some one or two bad statements made about Yeshua of Nazareth. There's a lot of practical wisdom in it. There's a lot of practical application which one can appreciate from it. But then he says this, let me conclude with this question. Do you disavow Martin Luther's statements that synagogues and Jewish homes should be burned, that Jews should be barred from teaching and conducting business? I hope you do. Do you disavow Martin Luther entirely because of those statements? I hope not, nor should you. And indeed, that's basically my position as well. When you approach a body of literature like the Mishnah, the Talmud, some of the church fathers, some of the reformers, whomever they are, what issue are you looking for to see them comment about? Their materials can be very useful as history, philosophy, commentary, but they're not Holy Scripture. They are the products of flawed human beings. And indeed, we see statements in Jewish literature negative toward Yeshua, negative toward believers. That doesn't mean that they don't have useful things, useful perspectives on other matters in early Christian materials, even Reformation period materials. A lot of negative statements made about the Jewish people, misunderstandings of Judaism, misunderstandings of the law of Moses. Does that mean they're all wet on everything? This is why I stress to people, what issue are you dealing with? And how do you approach a particular topic from either a Jewish, Christian, whatever perspective? If you were doing some kind of a research assignment on a particular issue to see what Jews and Christians have said over the centuries, you're going to have to wade through literature which is hardly unified, is pluralistic on many topics, and you might run into a statement or two which really offends you, whether it's about Yeshua of Nazareth or about the Jewish people in Israel. So this, I appreciated this post. Okay, back to more current events. Yesterday afternoon, August the 5th in the afternoon, from Open Source Intel Defender. The Prime Minister of Lebanon, Nawaf Salam, announced earlier today that he has instructed the Lebanese army to begin drafting a plan to centralize all paramilitary forces and heavy weapons under state control by the end of the year, to be submitted to the government by September the 1st. Such a plan would require the disarmament and dissolution of Hezbollah's military wing, the Jihad Council, with the Lebanese cabinet scheduled to begin discussions regarding a U.S. proposal on Thursday. So, the Lebanese government appears to have had their fill with the presence of Hezbollah. What is going to happen with this? Well, here's one response, and this is from yesterday afternoon, August the 6th. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Agrahi. The Lebanese government's plan to disarm Hezbollah will fail. Obviously, we'll see. We will see what happens. We know that with what Israel has done in Gaza, going after Hamas, the Lebanese government doesn't want to see that happen to their country with the presence of Hezbollah, among other things. Okay, this is from Newsmax yesterday evening. President Donald Trump told European leaders he plans to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin in person as soon as next week, according to reports. The president has sought to broker an end to the Russia-Ukraine war. Okay, the key word is plans. We don't know if that's going to happen or not. We know that a lot of these apparent peace gatherings, peace summits, they start and then they don't go anywhere. They falter. But hopefully we can see some kind of progress made. All right, from Vivid on X. I thought this was notable. Hezbollah will never forget the pagers. Okay, you all remember what happened when all of the Hezbollah members had the pagers explode on them. No eyes. no legs, no balls. This will go down as one of the most incredible anti-terrorism operations in the history of warfare, and Israel is behind it. Okay, so we got two more stories. The changing, perhaps, plans of the Israeli government regarding Gaza. So this is from Visegrad this morning, August the 7th. Israel won't annex or occupy Gaza. It will launch a time-bound, limited military operation once cabinet approves it tonight, and will then hand Gaza over to an international body which will have neither Hamas nor the Palestinian Authority. Okay, is that going to happen? That does sound, for a lot of people, a lot less provocative than Israel's just going to go in and annex the Gaza Strip and take complete total control over it. Instead, we're going to have a concentrated military operation, and then Gaza is going to be handed over to an international body. No Hamas, no Palestinian Authority. And of course, this itself is something which, as we should be aware, can change. And then finally, Benny Johnson posted this morning, August the 7th. Russian official Yuri Yushakov says they've received an offer reportedly relating to the war in Ukraine from President Trump that they find acceptable. There was an offer from the American side which the Russian side deems acceptable. Okay, so we, at least as of going live today, do not know what those what the terms of that offer are, but we are certainly going to see some things likely occur in the coming days and weeks. Remember, this war has been taking place for over 3.5 years. Are we going to be able to see some kind of conclusion or not? We continue to monitor events. So that concludes our news roundup. And once again, all of the news stories you can go through yourself when this episode is archived later today on MessianicApologetics.net. And for certain, we have ongoing questions about when we are. We have ongoing anxieties and concerns about what the Lord is doing in this hour. But we know he is in control, and we know that as the redeemed in Messiah, we do have access to the infinite power of heaven. We can pray that the Lord protects us, he provides for our needs, and that he gives us the wisdom and discernment to be able to sort through what is happening, because there are a lot of people who are very worried right now, and they are very upset. They have various levels of disappointment, and they want to know what his intended future is for them and their families, especially if things are not going to get peaceful. They're going to get more stressful, and with the fall high holidays coming up very soon, there is an increased number of people making predictions and prognostications about the last days. And certainly, I have no problem discussing these matters, but we need to do so in a realistic and grounded way. All right. As always, on behalf of Outreach Israel Ministries and Messianic Apologetics, I would like to sincerely thank you for your ongoing prayers, encouragement, and donations toward all of our ministry efforts. You can give online at outreachisrael.net/support. We'll see you again tomorrow with another episode of Messianic Insider. Until then, may God bless you, shalom, and take care.